Okay, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Okay. Um, I know y'all deal with a lot at the home and y'all don't like facing y'allself. And I don't know which way I want to hold this. I gotta hold this one. Let me get my pillow here. All right, let's put some brown on it. Y'all want to look at something, huh? The Bible? All right, I'll leave the Bible up. I just don't like holding it. Okay, so we're gonna skip because we're talking about retaliation, abuse. Amen. We categorize what could hurt the relationship. Let me say, lust is a very important part of a relationship. First of all, so you have to be careful with the word lust. Lust is triggered by the flesh or the flush. I'm going to say the flush, and I'm gonna go ahead and do an hour before I upload the rest of this. But lust is triggered by the flesh. Okay, that same flesh, that same emotion. That's what's triggering everything else. And so in a relationship, and I know some of you may be feeling this right now because you're thinking about your own personal relationship. I know some of you may feel like you could keep your mouth closed and have a good relationship. Yeah, well, maybe you're thinking about your own relationship because not everybody or not everyone has that good husband. Amen. And so if you had that husband, like I went in the house one time and I saw this man, I don't know if he always act that way, I saw him, he would take his wife's house shoes because he didn't like her walking, not even on the carpet. But she loved walking on the carpet. And so he would take the shoes and put it down at her feet. And, people have a tendency of doing little things like that, when folks are around. But if he's like that all the time, it might bug her because she moved her feet back from the house shoes. And so I sat there and I watched because I have a tendency of watching relationships. Because you can see a lot in relationship if you just sit back and watch, especially as a young single woman. I love to watch these aged relationship where truth is being spoken. Not this relationships or not these relationships that are not realistic. Amen. There are some things you don't see when people are mature. Sometimes you'll never see people arguing in church. You'll never see them rolling their eyes at church. But it doesn't mean they love each other like they should. There's some folks that have been together so long to where they take each other for granted anyway. They barely look at each other in the home. Some people get used to the other one, ignore them, but it doesn't say that they're happy. They're still miserable. They're going through the house that they don't turn all, dull, and that's not what they want. Especially in the church house. There's some people so committed to God to where they won't cheat, but they will stay unhappy for years to where they don't even have feelings anymore. They don't even know what they want. Amen. And so when you get into a relationship and you still have fire, you're going to have emotions. As long as you have fire in your heart, you have desire. That means you're not dull. Amen. You can't look at everyone's relationship and think that's the way my relationship should be. That's what got me in trouble. That's the reason why I wanted to get married. I would see people coming to church with same color clothes on, and I wanted to be married so bad. I thought being married was a part of being in church, but it wasn't. It was so much into being married. It takes a commitment, first of all. You have to be committed to the person, and that comes from a bonding. And again, that commitment comes from what? The ingredients that we stated earlier. Amen. The love that is built, not just the bonding, because the two-part, what we talked about earlier, you can have a bonding, but you can have a hateful bonding or you can have a lovable bonding. Amen. A lovable bonding is going to actually take you further than a hateful bonding. The bonding is still there. The bonding comes with age. It's like wine. It comes with age. As it sits there and does absolutely nothing, it still bonds. Sometimes you can get sick of seeing your husband come home. You can't stand to see him, but yet you don't want to let him go because of a bonding. It ain't even a soul tied anymore because some of you are not sleeping together. You're sleeping in two different rooms, and yet you have that bonding. Some people call it companionship. Amen. You just love being together. You love being around each other. No, it's not that. It's the fact that you don't want to be alone or you don't got so used to him being around. It's like a smell. You can smell someone even though there's no scent in the air. That's how long some people have been together. They can smell each other. The memories are still there. The memories is what's keeping them together. Amen. There's no taste bud in some of their mouths, but yet they're still together. And so that's not a fire. That's not a desire. That's dullness. That's dead. That relationship is dead, but it's still together. But yet, they can look good. Amen. Some of them knows how to come to church and stand before you, and they look good. There's no more kissing. There's no more holding hands. There's no more intimacy, but yet they're still together. So you can't look at the smiles that's on people's faces or folks' faces and believe that they're in a good relationship. Amen. It's what happens behind closed doors that really matters. Okay, that's in any relationship. Now we're behind closed doors. Okay, and we can skip all that other part because that's just the foundation that's not seen. Now this is the part that's seen. What happens when your husband come home and he done cheated? After all these years, and I'm gonna tell you a testimony, and hopefully I hadn't seen this girlfriend in years, but she was such a sweet person. She really was. And we used to go out to eat, and all she would ever talk about was her husband. And I think I shared this on the radio with some of you. But she would always talk about her husband, and he would come around, and he just gave her everything she ever wanted. I mean, he was a good man. And so they called him off to war. He went overseas, and he met a female over there. And he was still talking to her, and she was still bragging on him. And then when it was time for them to come back after a year, he divorced her. He left her, and she was so hurt to where she was paralyzed, really. I mean, she was dazed. She could not understand what happened. Well, that's kind of hard to solve because all she knew is the love was there. You know, there was no love affair, but I'm believing as he stayed with the girl during the time of fear, you know, the bonding part, she soothed him, you know. But I also question, was there a foundation before he left? Amen. Because love is solid. Love can go overseas and stand there a year is not a good thing, but you leave something in a person when you really love them. You know, it's like a family member, like a grandmother, like a mother. You love them so to regardless of how long they're gone, you still recognize them, you still remember them, you still love them. You can't hold on to them, but they're still there. You know, you'll always love that family member that the Lord decided to take away. You know, that's love. That's that bonding. That's a different type of love that's in a relationship. Amen. That's a wound. They call that a wound love. That's love from the inside. Amen. That's something no one will ever be able to destroy. Amen. Is that love of a mother, of a grandmother. Amen. And so now this husband, he went off, but something in my spirit said that something was lacking. Because you have men that are just good men. Understand me. There are some men out there that were just raised to take care of their spouses. There are men that understand that the way your spouse looks reflects upon you. I believe that. So they're going to make sure that their family is taken care of. There are some men out there that just have a wife just to give her money. They have enough money. You go shopping and they live any old kind of way. I've seen men with money have 10, 20 girlfriends and yet take care of their spouse. Amen? Wow, that hurts. Ooh. But it happens. And so him taking care of you, providing for you, giving you everything you want is not a sign that he really loves you. But sometimes we can take that for granted. There are some of these brothers, they're just plumb Casanovas. Yeah, they just a romantic being. And so what they do to you, they could be doing to others, but yet you feel like, oh, he loves me so because that's just in him. And so we have to be very careful that we know what love is. And when you know what love is, then you'll know what unforgiveness is. Again, love is solid. Love is hard to be destroyed regardless. When both persons are in love, it's hard to have a cheater. When you are in love, that's solid. You go away, you love your spouse, it's very hard for another woman to soothe you when you are in love. Love is a characteristic. Oh my God. And that's deep because a characteristic is a person's trait. It becomes them. It's who they are. And so when your spouse become you, they become who you are. Amen. That's my spouse. You know, that's my character. I can see me in her and she can see me in her. That sounds the same, but it's not. But that's a characteristic. She's a part of me. That's a part of my trait. And that's love. That man is excited about his wife. He knows that that's my mate. And I don't care how far you go, no one else, because he's so convinced within that that's my wife, that no one else can become her. And that's love. That's what love does. It's more than just a bonding. She or he takes on the other one's trait, their characteristics. It feels like it's just a part of me. You know, it's supposed to be like a best friend. And even best friends seem to fade away. But best friends are like relationships. Some best friends are. We talk about David and Saul. I mean, David